Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Legends of the Spire. Great to have you with us. My name's Dave, and as always each week I take you through the career of one of our former players at Chesterfield, and this week it's with Ollie Banks. Now, most people probably remember Ollie from when he was at the club between 2013 and 2016, part of that title winning team under Paul Cook and the team that got to the playoffs the season after as well. But his history with Chesterfield goes way further back than that, as his dad, Ian Banks, was one of the coaches alongside Nicky Law back in the old Saltergate days. So he remembers as a kid having a kickabout with the crash mats under the old wooden stands at Saltergate with the Law boys, and it was really interesting to have a chat with him about those early years and how it formulated his life as a footballer. We obviously also had a good chat about title winning seasons under Paul Cook as well, and he's now at Barrow where he's just had his best goal scoring season, so still going great guns in his career. As always, we are at Spire Legends on Twitter and Instagram, Legends of the Spire on Facebook, so it would be great to hear from you. And please do like, share, subscribe, whatever it you do on whatever platform you are listening or watching on. But here we are, with the latest episode of Legends of the Spire with Ollie Banks.
Legends of the Spire.
You grew up in kind of a footballing house, I suppose, didn't you?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah. Obviously, my dad played. He had a long, good career. To be fair to him, cousins all played. You'll know Josh, Nick, Law brothers. So yeah, it was all I ever knew really. So kind of inevitable that I was going to try and be a footballer. There was no other option really.
What's it like kind of growing up then as like a kid of a footballer? Do you get kind of coached? Are you just like kicking about all the time, or are you getting subtly coached?
Yeah, I think there's always been a coaching side of it. But no, it was good. It was really good. I only got to watch my dad, what I remember on the back end of his career. Got to watch him a little bit non-league when he retired professionally. So yeah, but my dad always used to take me everywhere with him. No matter like golfing, I'd always go golfing from being young, really young. Probably why I'm a decent golfer now. It was always from a really young age. My dad would take me everywhere with him, and so it was the same with football. When he played non-league, I went everywhere with him in the dressing room. So I always say to people, I think it was a good thing for me because when I went into an environment, it weren't a shock for me like it is for a lot of players, because it can be a very I don't know how to describe it, what type of environment. It's like nothing else. So it was an easy transition for me to go from school into football, full-time football, because that's all I'd ever known and been around it. So it was pretty easy really on that front.
Yeah, and I suppose it's just like having a really, 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 really long apprenticeship, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like starting up when you're really young. Do you remember any? Because obviously, then your dad was obviously coaching with Nicky when at Chesterfield, wasn't he? But you'd have only been like what, 7 or 8 or something at that time, maybe. 2000.
Yeah, I will have been young, yeah, but I remember it really, really well, really well. It was obviously it was a decent time as well. They did very well. Unfortunately, I went into administration. I think it was Darren Brown.
Darren Brown,
yeah. Did he own the Steelers at the same time? Am I right in?
It was like loads of basketball clubs and Steelers as well. And there was like he was basically pooling all this money together, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And then just running out of it, and they were just closing one by one. Did you hear anything around the house at that time?
I think I probably will have done, yeah. It was a long time ago now. But yeah, it was a very, very memorable time in my life, that, because I remember players like Luke Beckett and Ryan Williams and um, Adam Smith. Still see Adam Smith every now and again, rarely, but I see him on social media and stuff like that as well. But I think he was a YT as when my dad were there.
Mm.
But it was a good time. It was a good time, and me and my cousins would always go and have a kick around. They used to train at what was it? Was it the Sheffield Uni playing fields?
Yeah.
Um,
Warminster Road, was that the one?
Warminster Road, yeah, that's it, yeah. Now it just brings back really good memories. It was a really good time. That I enjoyed it.
I guess you'd have been sat up in the wooden stand then, wouldn't you?
Yeah, it's Saltergate, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
watching the
It used
matches.
to be, so as you come down the corridor, there'd be the little gym right at the end.
Yeah.
Tiny it was. It was literally nothing, and then the home dressing room was on the right. Am I right there?
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. Yeah.
Me and my cousins used to get the big crash mat in the gym and lay it against the wall, and that'd be his net, and just whack balls as for hours on end. But now it like I said, it was a good time, man. Really good.
And then you were like a youth player then at Rotherham, weren't you?
Well, I actually played in Chesterfield Centre of Excellence.
Oh, were you?
Yeah. Well, we lived over where I live now,
Yeah.
over Barnsley, Rotherham area, and my dad got the Chesterfield assistant job, and then we moved over there, obviously to make it easier. But I was playing for Barnsley at the time, to obviously stop my mum and dad travelling over 3 times a week, 4 times a week sometimes. I went and played for Chesterfield instead. So I think I had a couple of years there, and then when we moved back over, I took some time out of football actually. When we moved back over this way, because I fell out with it a little bit, to be honest. My dad got frustrated with me as well, because he knew that I had potential and I could be a good player, but I think at that point I didn't really want it that much. I don't know why. Maybe because it had all, like I said before, it's all I've ever known. So might have just got a bit fed up. I don't know. I'm not sure. Like I won't be able to tell you the reason. But after probably a year or so, maybe 2 years of not playing, I started playing 5-a-side with my dad and his mates on a Wednesday night. And there was a scout for Rotherham there, and he said, "Oh, why don't you come and have a training session?" I think it was under 14s at the time, and I'd literally trained for about 45 minutes, and they said, "Oh, we want to offer you a contract." So that were pretty good.
Is there any like pressure being the son of, or
yeah, there has been. I think I've said this before in other things I've done. It's as good as it has been having my dad to guide me. It's always been good in that aspect, that he's been there to guide me, and I've grown up around it, and it has been very good. But there's been downsides. Like for instance, I had a coach at Rotherham who played with my dad in his playing career, and they didn't get on. So he just never played me. So I was probably one of the better players in that age group. He just never played me.
Never got a look in.
I think my dad had a word with him one afternoon. After one of the games, he said, "Come on, we know why you're not doing it." So I don't know whether it was a stern word or I'm not sure. But I played after that, so it must have been all right.
Well, it's interesting because I've had Drew Talbot came on, and he was talking about how his kids now are quite good at football. I think his son's just signed for Wednesday. I think. No, United.
All right.
Signed for United. And he was saying that he intentionally didn't take his kid to training because he didn't want the kid to be like, oh look, it's Drew Talbot's son. So I think he was he got his wife to kind of take the kid to training because he wanted to take a step back, which I thought was quite interesting.
Well, I started taking my little boy. He's never really shown much interest in football, in kicking a ball around, or he kind of has, but not massively. So I said to my missus, I said, until he really wants to do it, I'm not going to be that pushy dad. I don't want that. I said, I don't want to be that dad. So, but he ended up wanting to go. So I have started taking him, but he's at an age now where it's just a bit of fun. So, but I probably will get to that point where it's going to be difficult in some ways, but I won't be pushy. It's a tough industry to be in, so I'm not sure I want it for my kids, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of this is number 53, I think, people that I've spoken to now. It's not a very secure industry, is it? I mean, the highs are proper highs, aren't they? Which I can't imagine you can match from a lot of things in your life. But again, job security and stuff like that at the same time, and injuries that come along at the same time and things. There's downsides to it as well, isn't there?
Yeah, like you said, the highs are very high, but the lows are very, very low. And every week by week, it's a roller coaster. And that's what I said to my wife when I was probably being a bit silly, thinking, oh, he's 4-year-old. I'm not sure I want him to go, but I'll just whatever they want to do and they're happy to do, I'll support them. So, but I won't be pushing him to do anything in particular. Well, I've got two sons. One's 4 and one's 2, but they can do whatever they want to do, and if that's football, then great. If not a problem either.
So then you ended up kind of leaving Rotherham as a prospect, and you went through. I mean, it was quite a short spell of time, but you went to a few different kind of non-league clubs, didn't you? And I think famous working as a kitchen fitter or something like that at the same time. Yeah. So was that football career? Start putting that to one side, or was it still kind of the ambition?
Yeah, it was always. It was just being real. I got released by Steve Evans after my first year pro. I had 4 managers in my first season as a pro. 1 or 2 liked me, 1 or 2 didn't, and that's, as we know, that's football, isn't it? Mm-hmm. It's a game of opinions. And it was tough. It was tough to take, but you have to move on fast. You have to get real. And I thought, well, if football is not going to be my life, then I need to do something else. So I did a electrician's course when I left Rotherham, but still played, obviously part-time. And a friend of my sister's fitted kitchens, and he said, why don't you come and do a bit of work with me? He said, I'll teach you this side of things, and you can do bits of your electric work while you're still getting qualified. So I thought, yeah, I'll do that. And he was sound with time, to go and play football, and he understood, and it worked out really well, and he's become a lifelong friend. So I enjoyed it, to be fair. I did. I enjoyed it, and it gave me that push as well to get back into football, because as tough as football is, it's also an unbelievable job, and it's what we love doing, and that's why we do it. So it went well, and he were understanding, and it allowed me to still focus on football a little bit. But yeah, I had a few clubs. It was hard in non-league, really hard, because it's very clicky,
Yeah.
very clicky.
I can
Like,
imagine it. I can imagine it.
oh,
Is it much worse than kind of league football then?
oh, miles worse,
Hmm.
miles worse. I went places. Lads had contracts at certain clubs. I was always on a non-contract. You kind of will have a look at you and see what happens. And I did well at a few places, and it just didn't seem to happen. I'm not sure why. And then I ended up signing for FC United, and I absolutely loved it. Probably one of the most enjoyable times of my career. Well, before my career really took off, really.
Yeah.
I loved it there. The fans, everything were really good. The manager, Carl Margison, it was a really good time. And I think I only ended up playing about 20 games for him.
Yeah, I was looking at it. It wasn't that many really. So you had spells
Oh,
that I've got me who were Stalybridge Celtic, Buxton.
they were loans then while I were at Rotherham.
Oh, they loans at Rotherham.
Yeah.
And then Gainsborough, Scarborough,
Yeah.
Ferriby, and then FC United. So I mean, they're quite like I imagine the travel time and stuff like that. If you're going,
That's
like training a couple of nights a week or something like that, and
yeah, it was hard work, but to be fair to my dad, he like he always has done, he did everything he could, drove me here, there and everywhere, and was at every game. So that was a big help. But I love my time at FC United. I've got nothing but good things. I still go back to a few games when I can. I've not been for a while, to be fair, but I still go back when I can.
we've had Jonathan Smith on the podcast who was with us a couple of years ago, who's now at FC United, and he says the same. He's really enjoying it.
Yeah, it's a great club. Really good club.
Minutes of added time to play at the end of this first half. So 2 minutes of stoppage time to play. Norwood. Oh, given away there to Morsey. The Doyle ahead of him. And Banks with a chance there! Oh, I say, Ollie Banks! What a fantastic goal!
So I suppose it would it have been Paul Mitchell then that in terms of how you ended up at Chesterfield?
I don't know.
Who was it that
There's a few that's took credit for it. I don't know. Yeah, Paul Mitchell was the chief scout with Cookie. I find it weird calling him Cookie. I spoke to him not long ago, and I still call him Gaffer. I can't find it in me to call him Cookie when I'm speaking to him. But yeah, it was Paul Mitchell, Liam Richardson, obviously the Gaffer, Kev Lynch.
Well, it was interesting when Cookie was on because he was saying that he'd known of like Jimmy Ryan through other circles, and someone else knew Sammy Morsey through circles, and like Paul Mitchell was picking up like Aaron Chapman because he was watching lots of kind of local football and stuff. And it was interesting how it seemed that everyone was kind of picking out names. And then it was, I suppose, as for you then, was it quite a nice squad to join because there was people that were quite established league players and some that were quite up and coming at the same time?
Well, when I got the phone call that they were interested in signing me, it obviously from my dad being there and me being around it when I was younger, it automatically had a good feel. I really, really wanted to, and to be fair, they were top of the league. I think they won 6 out of 7 in that by the time I joined or something like that.
Yeah, it was something like that. Yeah,
flying. Yeah, so I was lucky with what I came into, to be honest. Really, really lucky. And the gaffer were honest with me. He said, "Look," he said, "you're coming in." I went on great money at all, obviously. He said, "Just come in, prove yourself, work hard and I'll look after you. And that's exactly what he did. But I was so lucky with what I came into, like Severe Never, Sam Hurd, Liam Cooper, Tommy Lee, Richie Humphries. Like you said, there was an unbelievable mixture of experience and that youthful side. And we had a great team spirit. Unbelievable. Like we'd go out all the time. That's come out of the game a little bit. Even the time I've been in football, last, what will it be now, since 9 years? Since I signed for Chesterfield. Is it 9 years?
Yeah, it will be something like that.
Wow.
13, yeah. Yeah, 9 years. It'll be 10 years next year, won't it?
Football's changed in so many ways since I first came in. But yeah, we'd finish training on a Tuesday sometimes, and there'd be 10 of us, 12 of us, sometimes more, straight into Sheffield. And I honestly think that's why we did. Obviously, we were a good team, very good team, but I think that played a big part in it. We were out together a lot. We went for meals. We did stuff. It was a really, really good team to go into, and Gaffer and his staff were brilliant with me. He actually said to me, he said, "I don't think you're really going to play this first season, if I'm honest." He said, "But just see what happens." And then obviously ended up playing about 30 something games that season.
Yeah, I think it was, yeah. And it was interesting as well, because your first appearance on the bench was that 4-3 defeat at Morecambe.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
It was absolutely crackers. I remember that game very well, because we were cruising 3-0 at half time, and then it all went dramatically wrong. It's kind of an interesting game to be the first time on the bench.
Well, I was sat on the bench next to Aaron Chapman. I used to bring Chappie into training because he couldn't drive. And I weren't on very good money, and we were 3-0 up at half time, and the win bonus was decent at that time, so I'm nudging Chappie. I was like, we're going to get a decent bonus here. And then then that happened. But no, it was a mad game. That was a mad game.
And then your actual first appearance was actually a derby, wasn't it, against Mansfield? I think.
Yeah,
JPT. The match.
The JPT then, yeah.
Yeah, it was JPT. We won 1-0. I think it was
McSheffrey.
Yeah, got the goal. Yeah.
McSheffrey.
Yeah. So what was that
Yeah.
like, having a Mansfield derby as your first?
Well, I was sat on bench, and the atmosphere was unbelievable, and I weren't sure how we were going to get on. To be honest, I don't think there was a plan to put me on or not. But yeah, it was nice to get on and just settle the nerves a little bit, really.
So how do you go then from being you're not really going to play this season to then you got a little spell in the team kind of quite shortly after that and scored, I think you just got like 3 games in a row or something like that, a couple of games in a row, and then you got the Football League like Young Player of the Month, didn't you?
I think I got 6 goals in 5 games or something like that.
I've got the list here of games at the start of that season. So you got
Rochdale.
2 against Rochdale, and then you scored against Torquay the game after that, and then you scored against Wickham the game after that as well, and then scored against Exeter a few games after that. So they were, and then you scored against Bristol Rovers as well. So they were kind of flying in, weren't they, around that time? So how is that just enthusiasm, just getting exposure in the team? Kind of what do you pinpoint it down to?
Probably a mixture of feeling I had a point to prove, feeling that I weren't going to let the opportunity pass me by, because it's happened before. I fell out of the game before, and I didn't want to let it slip away again. And also just the gaffer put so much. What's the word? Probably a bit of trust in me, which is not, that's what you need from a manager. And he just let me go out and express myself. He said, go and do what you're good at and just enjoy yourself. And that's what I did. I remember probably about 5 or 6 games of being in the team, probably a bit more. We played Dagenham, and I had an absolute shocker, like horrendous. And he took me off at half time, and rightly so as well. I was shocking. And then the Monday morning come, and he used to have to walk past Gaffer's office back to the changing rooms. I shook my head. I was a bit sheepish, stuck my head in. I said, "Morning." He went, "Ollie." I'm like, "Oh no." I just thought, "Oh no, what's he going to do here?" And then I went in, and he said, "Look," he said, you've been unbelievable for us." He said, "Don't worry about that." He said, it happens to everyone." He said, you've picked us up when we needed it, so it's our time to pick you up." And I went out of that meeting and felt like I'd had the best game I've ever had, even though I'd been the worst I've probably ever been. And that's what he had a brilliant knack of doing. You could go in his office with a problem or with something, and you'd come out feeling top of the world. And that's what he did so well. But we had some good players, didn't we?
Yeah.
Gary Roberts, Jay O'Shea, Mark Richards, Jimmy and Sammy. Everyone, Tendai.
So if a fellow pro kind of rang you up, of which you might get it over this summer, because we'll probably have a bit of change, I guess, in our squad, and someone says, "I've had a call, Chesterfield want me. What's Paul Cook like to play under? What can I expect?" What would you say?
I would say it demands a lot, but he's probably one of the best I've played under, definitely. I don't know. Everybody respects him so much when you play under him. There's no, you don't backtalk, you don't backchat Cookie. But no, I've got nothing but respect for him. He gave me my chance, and I'll always be thankful for that. And I've always said that I'd love to play for him again. When that'll be, I don't know, and if it'll be, I'm not sure. But I've always said I'd love to play for him again. He's a really good manager, and looking at Chesterfield this season, I think there's a lot of luck being involved in it, and the luck with injuries and stuff like that. But I think they should give Cookie time, because you know what he does when he's got time is how many promotions has he got under his belt.
Yeah, totally. And like you say, I only had an hour on like a call with him, and I came out feeling like 100 feet high after that. And because it's just got that kind of, I don't know, it's just got a persona that just kind of makes you feel good, isn't it? It's interesting.
He has, and that's, like I said, that's what he was so good at doing. Even lads out at team. Jay O'Shea used to say, he used to go into his office because he didn't play as much that first season, Jay, as he probably should have done, with how good of a player he was. But he'd always say, "I've gone in there with a problem to see what's going on." He said, "I've come out feeling like, I don't know what." So, no, he was good at that.
Richards, good first time ball, played wide onto that far side. It's Banks now, cutting in from the Chesterfield left. Gary Roberts, Jay O'Shea in space. O'Shea back into the area once more. Chance for Banks. And Chesterfield have the lead. The Spireites go in front in the 8th minute of the game.
So like that season then, obviously it all goes very well. Win a title, have a Wembley appearance. It's quite a nice way to do it. I think your last appearance that season was actually in the Wembley game as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was about 10 minutes in. Smashed my foot to bits. So it was a bit of wasn't a great end to it, but
yeah,
it was nice to be able to. I think I played my first game that season away at Worktop, and then played my last at Wembley. So I had to sit back and think, well, it's been. If somebody had said to me, "You're going to play at Wembley in March," I'd have said no. So I had a lot to be thankful for. Just unfortunate that it ended the way it did, but it made up for it being able to win the title and get that over the line. So it was nice. It was good.
Yeah, and like you say, you probably played a lot of games that season, and you scored about like you say, about 7 goals, something like that as well. So it was good goal scoring.
But I think I got 9 in league and cup.
Yeah,
So
probably
yeah,
7 goals. Yeah.
it was a good. It was a decent return, really.
So did your position change at all over that period? Because you've kind of played Chesterfield anyway. You've played kind of a few different. You've played quite advanced, haven't you, in some bits, and a bit deeper in other bits.
Well, I went in as a midfielder, really. As a wouldn't say a sitting midfielder, but definitely not a 10 or a wide of a 3 but Cookie must have seen something that he wanted to play me a bit further up, and I ended up scoring 2 in my first game in that position. So I think he thought I might as well keep him there.
And one thing everyone asks is why the number 2 shirt?
Do you know all it was? Is all the only numbers that were left were really high ones, and I just thought to myself, in my head, the closest number I can get to the starting 11, that's what I want to be. At the end of the day, I want to be in the starting 11. So if I can have a number in that probably might sound a bit daft to some people, but that's all it was. Nothing else to it.
It's probably something that it's probably a question that's going to follow you around from Chesterfield fans. Anyway.
Yeah, everyone used to say, "Why did you wear number 2?" And I just, why not?
I remember we had a manager years ago, Lee Richardson, who is now working with Jurgen Klopp, who one season he just swapped all the squad numbers around, and we'd have like a centre forward with number 3, and we had and it was like completely all over the shop. And I remember that season getting really angry that a centre forward was got number 3, and you've got like a centre midfielder with number 5, and it's.
Well, it was Cookie who the season after. It was probably pre-season. I came in, I walked past his office. He went, "You can get that number 2." Well, it weren't probably as, I'm going to say it a bit cleaner.
Quite colourful, yeah.
Yeah. He said, "You won't be wearing that number 2 again this season. I'm sick of seeing it." I said, "Yeah, no problem." I weren't going to argue.
It was Tendai then, wasn't it? That you got your number 2, I think.
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, it was Tendai. Yeah.
So how was that season after then? Because obviously you've league title. Obviously it didn't end that well, like you say, with the injury and stuff. But then you're going into League One. What's it like, that kind of change in pace and tempo and stuff like that? I suppose it was interesting talking to Cook, because he said that actually it helped in a way, in some ways, because teams weren't sitting back and they were coming onto us, so it opened it up for people like Doyle to score loads of goals. But I suppose in a position where you're more kind of midfield, it could work the other way around. I don't know, what was it like?
I didn't really feel a massive difference. I think the biggest difference was in both boxes. The strikers were more clinical, and you had to defend better in your box. I think that was the only really major thing for me. But like the gaffer said, it probably helped us, and why we did so well that season, that we had that room, because a lot of teams in that League Two season used to sit back against us, didn't they?
Yeah, well, yeah, and it was interesting when we went up the league that that Doyle scored that many goals.
So I think he only got about 12 the season before, didn't he?
Well, yeah, and I remember at the time a few fans kind of going, "Oh, we've got to get a better striker than him next season." Because he's only scored 12 in League Two. I kind of just
the thing we had as well though. I got 9. Robbo probably got 10. Did he? Jay O'Shea probably got 10. Doyle probably got 10. Mark Richards probably got a few. Big Arman probably got a few. Evo and Erdy we had goals everywhere.
Right, yeah.
So it's not like you needed a 25 goal season, man, did you? Because you had everyone chipping in, and when you've got everyone chipping in, it's probably better that way, really.
Yeah. And at the end of that season, I'm skipping on quite a long way, but the end of that season, you end up like in the playoffs.
I played striker.
You were up front. So it obviously went like it does with Chesterfield in playoffs. We usually end up goalkeepers usually getting injured just before playoffs. I think that's happened a few times.
Tommy did, didn't
Tommy got injured.
Already come on in the game before in the first leg. I was actually the sub goalie. If anything happened to Tommy in that game, I was coming on as sub goalie. And his ankle went near the end of the game, and I thought, "Oh no, I'm gonna have to come on here." Was it that game or the game before? Can't remember. It was one of the games.
It had a few injuries over the years as well, Tommy. So if you're an outfield player and you have to be the sub goalkeeper, I imagine that's a bit anxiety inducing.
Yeah. But what a keeper Tommy was.
Oh yeah, incredible.
Great lad as well. Great keeper.
Yeah. So what's it like then? The whole playing up front.
He actually told me, I think probably 2 days before, so I'm going to play you up front. And I laughed. I thought he was joking. He said, no, I'll play you up front. But it was tough. Preston were a good team, weren't they? Good side. But it was a tough game, that. But Klukes had a great chance, didn't he? When it were 0-0, he went through and keeper made a good save. But that could have been the turning point that we possibly. But it didn't happen, and that was the end of that. It ended up being a bit of a tonking in the end, didn't it?
I suppose that they had Beckford and Garner, didn't they, up front? So it was hard coming up against that strike force.
They were a good side, weren't they, at the time? They had some good players, really good players.
And it was interesting when Cookie was on. He was talking about how all the players went like out in Liverpool afterwards because they kind of knew he was going, and he was talking about how he was like crying in the car on the way home because it was that period was obviously over.
Yeah, we all went out.
Quite a strange time then at the end of that season.
Well, after the game, he kind of said to us that this is me, and it weren't nice, that, because it felt like something good were breaking apart. You know what I mean? And it was, but he did what was best for him and his family, and I'll never criticise anybody's decision in football. Me, I know it's a bit different for fans. Obviously, your loyalty lies with one club, but I'll never criticise anybody. So all you try and do is the best for yourself and your family, don't you? So, and that's what he was doing. And I think he went on to a massive club, so you can't really particularly blame him, can you?
Well, yeah, and the rug was pulled from under him a bit, wasn't it? And
yeah,
there's going to be lots of players sold off anyway. I suppose it's an ifs and ands kind of question, but as supporters, that League One league the season after seemed like a pretty strong team. All the big ones had gone up, hadn't they? So what do you think that team could have achieved if it had stuck together for one more season?
Together, I think we'd have probably done better than what we did the season before. I really do, but nothing good lasts forever, does it?
It doesn't, I suppose.
But when you mentioned we went out in Liverpool, I think we all we ended up drinking in this pub with a gaffer. I've still got pictures on my phone now, like dancing with him and videos. Oh, it was a good send off. To be fair, it was a good night. That.
Yeah, and it seems like that's the spirit. That's the kind of thing he's trying to build now. And over the last few months, there's been bits where they've been in the pub watching the horse racing and stuff like that, and they've been taking them boxing again. Did you like all the boxing when they did all that stuff?
Yeah, we did. Yeah. They're not my fondest memories. Them.
I was going to say, who were you up against in the boxing?
Oh,
Don't want to be up against Evo, do you?
Can't remember, but they were tough sessions. Then they were tough with Shinner. Shinner got everybody fit, but that boxing gym brings back nightmares. If I'm honest. Good though. At the same time, it was good at the same time.
Yeah. So that last season then with us. So obviously Dean Saunders came in, didn't he?
Yeah, Dino. Yeah.
Which I spoke to a few that played on him instead. He was a lovely bloke. He had lots of good stories to tell, but he maybe wasn't the best coach that they'd ever played under. But he was a great player. That seemed to be the thing that people say about him.
Yeah, I think they've probably summed it up pretty well. Yeah, great guy, funny guy. Had some great laughs with him. He everyone knows the stories about him bringing prizes in for the best trainer and stuff like that. He did that a couple of times.
What did you win?
I think he brought these wash bags in, like this Gucci wash bag or something like that. But no, it was sound, Dino. I liked him. He was probably wasn't the best manager I'd worked under, but he was a good guy, really good guy.
It's always hard as well, isn't it, to follow someone that's done so well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's a tough gig for anyone to come in to earn it. To be fair.
Yeah, totally. And there weren't that many. Obviously, the squad had then broken up a bit, and a few players had moved on and stuff like that. I think there were you that were still there. Maybe Sammy Morsey was still there, and a few others, but a few had kind of moved on as well, hadn't they? So
yeah,
it was interesting how. I mean, did the squad dynamic change at all with that, or?
Yeah, it was definitely a bit different. You see it. I've seen it a number of times. Things do change, and things have to change when a new manager comes in. It's a different regime. It's a different way of doing things. But you have to get on with it. You can't just think, "Oh, I missed them times," or "This isn't as good as what it were." You just have to get on with it, and that's life, isn't it?
Yeah. One thing I did want to ask about that season. Obviously, we had the FA Cup game that season against FC United, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So you got to play against your club, and you scored as well.
Yeah, I don't think I was in the team around that period. I was in and out a little bit under Dean Saunders, but I think I came on with about half an hour to go and ended up scoring. I went to celebrate and then remembered. So I had to tone it down a little bit.
Ollie Banks, who moved to the Spireites from this club. Ollie Banks will take on the shot as well and returns to FC United with the fourth goal for Chesterfield. The bounce beat keeper David Carnell. Shouldn't have beaten the goalkeeper here, should it really? But it does. It's 4. Safe passage secured in emphatic fashion here for Chesterfield. 4-0.
So we'll whiz on a bit, but so obviously you're at Barrow now, aren't you? And you're turning 30 this year. Not yeah. I mean, I'm turning 40 next year, so I mean, put it in perspective. But what's it been like throughout your career? I suppose you get to a point, don't you, where you hit the tipping point and you become like the experienced pro. You start becoming like the youngster, and then you start to become the pro and the person that people look up to. How How do you
Well, it's
adapt to that?
I don't think you reach a point. I think it's more of a gradual thing, like a build up over probably a couple of years, really. Because when you're 25, you're still seen as a young player, really. What I'd give to be 25 again. But never mind. Yeah, it's probably a gradual thing, and then you get to 26, and you're thinking, right, I'm getting. It's a weird one because between probably 24 and 26, you don't feel. You feel young still, but then you get to 27 and you're thinking, oh, I'm only a couple of years off 30, and then you have to start. I don't know if everyone's different. You'll have probably had different answers, but I've probably changed a little bit, not consciously. Each club you go to, though, you kind of assume different roles within a dressing room. Obviously, I went into Chesterfield as a young lad, and I just wanted to fit in and just be part of it because it was such a good environment to be in. And towards the end of my time at Chesterfield, you become more confident in yourself, and because you've got a bit older and you've got more games under your belt, and then as I've moved on, I've probably got a bit more confident in myself, and it just comes with experience. The more games you play, the more you learn how to get through 90 minutes, and that's all it is. I don't mean in fitness terms. I just mean in like how you prepare and just you learn how to get through a game differently from when you're young. You just go out there with no fear and just play. But as you get older, things change a little bit. You start to feel a bit more responsibility as you get older as well. You start having kids, buying houses, and it becomes more pressure. Because you think, if I don't perform here, or I don't get a new contract, or we could be selling up, or that's the reality of things, isn't it? This season's been a strange one, to say the least, but a good one at the same time. It's as a collective, it's not been one we wanted. Obviously, just scraping by, but we started off so well. Mark Cooper's had a massive respect for Mark Cooper. I think he's a great coach. He's in my top 3 managers that I've played under. Great style of play. We absolutely hammered teams this season at times. Played some unbelievable football, passed teams to death, but we just didn't have goals in us. No disrespect to the strikers that we've had at all. It's just we just didn't take his chances when we needed to, and then obviously Coops unfortunately lost his job, which were a real shame, because I thought we could have built something decent under Coops. But like I've said before, you just have to get on with it and move on. But I've had a good season personally. I've had my best goal scoring season.
So you scored quite a few goals, haven't you, this season?
Yeah, 12 this year. And I've been captain for most of the season as well, which has been nice. It's a pleasure to captain teams. So I've enjoyed that.
What kind of captain are you? Are you like a blood and thunder kind of captain, or are you more of a lead by example kind of captain?
Probably a bit of both, I'd say. It's an hard one as a captain because obviously we all make mistakes, and you think to yourself, I can't really have a go at him because last week I made a mistake, but you have to. You can't look at that, so you've just got to be consistent, and I've tried to be. But I'd like to think I've been a good captain, and the lads have thought so, but different managers will give you different things of what they think makes a good captain. And Mark Cooper wanted me as captain because I carried out what he wanted. That's not to say that the next person come in or the person after that thinks the same thing. That's just football. It's opinions, and which is fine. But no, I've enjoyed this season. I'd have preferred to have been pushing for playoffs, and well, we all would, but it's just unfortunate that we couldn't do a bit better in the league position.
Well, it's great for Barrow, isn't it, to be, getting into the league and then staying there. And it proves the last few years that there's no club from the National League has gone down again from League Two in like 15 years or something. It's like a ridiculous statistic, isn't it?
Yeah, well, when I was at Tranmere, I went on loan in the previous season. I think I only played about 9 games in the National League. Then they ended up getting promoted. And then I signed permanently and we ended up getting promoted straight again. So and I think Bristol Rovers did that as well, not long before. A few teams have done it, and it's all I think it is if you get on a roll and you're confident and you get into winning habits, it can take you on, and I think that's all it is.
So for each podcast, well, from the more recent ones that I've done anyway, I've kind of had a little bit of a subject, which are things that I've always wondered about as a football fan.
Yeah,
that is quite a good opportunity to ask people about. And obviously, I've got a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. You've got a 4-year-old and a 2-year-old, is it? Something like that?
I have, yeah.
So I wondered how it all works, like having kids and parenting when you're a footballer, because I'd imagine if we got to playoffs now and one of our players, his partner had a baby, you never get they're on paternity leave for 2 weeks.
Oh.
Fans will not allow that one bit. But actually, it's kind of I wonder what the whole thing about is whether you think paternity leave or things like that will ever become like a thing in football, or whether you think it should be.
It's a difficult one because if you're in the team, you don't want to come out of the team. It's hard. Everyone's situation will be different, because you could have a player that's not playing in team and they'll be delighted to have a couple of weeks off and enjoy the time at home with a newborn. And then you've got with my two, I've had literally 1 day off for both of them. We had Ted when I was playing for Swindon, and we were living in between here and Swindon, which were tough, but at the same time, me and my wife always say it's probably one of the best times of his lives. And then Rudy, my second, he was born when I was at Tranmere, and we had a game the day after, and he was born, and then I played the day after.
Well, that was the follow-up question I was going to say. You see it loads of times where you're like, oh, they had their child was born early this morning, and now here they are in Torquay at 3:00, ready to play, and you just think, what?
Yeah, I don't think you can say really. I think everybody's different, and you've just got to do what's best for you and your family at that point. And because that comes before anything, in my opinion. So, but yeah, you probably ask 10 people, you'll probably get 10 different answers.
And like I remember many times during like the first year of both my kids, when you would have a really rubbish night's sleep and you've had like an hour's sleep or something like that, and then you have to go to work. And it's all right if you're kind of in a operational job at a desk or something, you can kind of hide for the day and just keep necking coffee. But if you have to go out and perform in front of a few thousand people for an hour and a half, is that an easy thing to get through, or is it just a
no, it's tough. It is tough, but like I said before, when you become a parent, you take on that responsibility, and you just have to get on with it. I still lived here when I played for Tranmere, so it was a 2-hour drive every morning, and I travelled with Liam Rydall, who was at Bradford now. He used to be on loan at Chesterfield, left back. He's one of my best mates. To be fair, we see each other all the time, and he always says to me now. He said, "I don't know how you used to do it. Drive to Tranmere. Sometimes I'd do it on literally half an hour sleep, just because you'll know yourself. Some nights it's impossible.
Yeah.
It's impossible. And I've always been a hands-on dad. I've never liked to just leave my missus to it. It's not for me. That go and get in spare room, or no, it's not that. That's not for me. To be fair, I've probably had some of my best games when I've had a bad Friday night. So I think it's just in your head. Obviously, it'll come to a point where you're physically exhausted, where you can't carry on. But no, I've just always kind of just got on with it, and I'd rather be there for them too than kind of cost myself that little bit of sleep.
And like I say, I think when you become a parent, you very quickly learn how to operate on a couple of hours sleep quite quickly. And you'll think,
Oh, yeah.
wow, if I was like 21, there's no way I could be up and moving right now with the amount of sleep I've just had last night. But it's amazing how quickly you can adjust to things like that, isn't it?
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, you just power through, don't you?
Yeah. So I suppose then other things then you start. I suppose when you're younger, you don't really mind if you're moving around all over the place, and you can kind of play in each corner of the country, I suppose, can't you? If you need to.
Yeah.
I suppose it's better to have more of a fixed base, isn't it, when you've got kids because of schools and kind of everything.
Yeah. Well, I've been quite lucky, really. Only time we moved away was when I were at Swindon. And to be fair to Swindon, they sorted me my wife and Ted a lovely house in Cirencester, which is a lovely place. So that was one of our better times that we've had. But it was tough, the driving. I think it was like 3.5 hour drive. So it were tough, but like I said before, you do what you have to do, don't you?
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Well, thanks for that. That's answered some of my questions about parenting as footballers. I just find it fascinating being able to get an insight into these things.
There's obviously a really good side to it, that when kids come to watch, and I've had them come on the pitch with me a couple of times, and it's great in that way, and gives you that little bit extra when you look in crowd and you see that there. It's good. It's nice in that way.
And I suppose with training and things, you get to kind of do the school run and stuff like that sometimes as well, don't you? If training's how far you are away, I suppose.
It's rare that I'm not home to pick them up from school and stuff. So yeah, that's another nice side to it. That was the thing about us having kids at a young age. I wanted them to be able to come and watch me play and see that side of things, because obviously like you've reminded me earlier, I'm 30 nearly, so it's going to come to an end soon.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not getting too doom and gloom, but like, do you start to think? Have you started to think now about whether you actually would like a career in football after you retire, or whether you want to just split off and do something completely different? Because it's interesting. I've spoken to loads of people now, and a lot of them seem to have get to a point where they form quite a strong opinion where they're like, no, actually, I just want to leave it, or yes, I'd like to stay in it.
Well, I'm a bit. In my younger days, I said that I didn't want to stay in football. I'm not sure where I'm at the minute in regards to staying in football. I think it'll depend on where I end up finishing my career, and if it falls into anything, or I don't know. I'll have to wait and see on that. I'm not too sure yet. I do think I've got something to give on the other side, but I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure.
No, you got loads of time. You got a decade yet. You play for another decade, I'm sure.
I've never been fast, have I? So I can't lose my pace.
Just go some belters, I reckon.
Well,
Which is your favourite goal that you've ever scored?
I get asked this one quite a fair bit, and I've got favourite ones in different ways. From probably in terms of what it meant, probably the Tranmere playoff goal is probably one of the more important goals that I've scored. And then pure from like a technical point of view, when I scored for Tranmere against Peterborough, the volley, and my goal against Barnsley this season in FA Cup, because that was good in a different way because all my wife's family are Barnsley fans and I've got friends who are Barnsley fans and I live in Barnsley. So it was good in that way.
Were you trying to work out who to celebrate in front of? Because I imagine
it's funny because my wife and kids and some of my family were in a box with the Barnsley fans. So, and then obviously our fans behind the net. That was an unbelievable day. That unfortunately we didn't win, but it was a good day.
Well, Barrow needs something spectacular to get back in this cup tie. Ollie Banks poised. Oh, he's hit that brilliantly! What a goal! And 10-man, League Two Barrow are not done yet. That was very, very special.
I just wondered, from like Saltergate era players, I've a lot of them. I always ask them what they had from Linda's sandwich shop. You know, the little sandwich shop on the corner at the end of the road.
I used to do that.
Did you used to go there as like an 8-year-old or something?
6-week holidays, I was there every day.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. Yeah. So what did you have from Linda's?
Tuna mayo, white on a big, them big, massive
Like,
bread cakes, whatever they're called. This is opening another debate.
Oh, it is. Yeah, that's another half an hour. Rolls,
bread cake,
perhaps.
barns. No, that's an argument for another day, that, isn't it?
Did you used to have to go and get everyone else's orders then?
Yeah, me and my two cousins and used to go and I think some players we used to get players' food in as well. And no, it's I forgot about that.
I was going to say, because I think it was Jamie Lowry, I think, when I had him on, and he was obviously like a YTS for a time. He said that they used to pick which players they'd go to because they knew who was on the best salary and they'd get to keep it. Do you used to pocket the change?
Oh yeah, always. Yeah, you have to do it.
But one day I'm gonna come up with a spreadsheet of all of these what everyone used to have, because there's some really interesting answers to what sandwich you got from Linda's sandwich shop debate.
Yeah, I've always to be fair, I've never been a cold sandwich lover, so just a plain tuna mayo for me, pretty bog standard. Sorry about that.
No, I don't think that you're the first person to say that. I think I've had a few tuna mayos. I'll have to find out who they were. Who was it that had Chinese chicken? That was the one that blew my mind the most. Someone used to have Chinese chicken.
That sounds horrendous.
It does, doesn't it? Anyway, so last question then. So you obviously title win at Chesterfield. Have you where have you kept the medal and stuff like that? Do you keep all that stuff? Is it just in the loft?
No, it's in my extension. I've got my debut shirt against Bristol Rovers, my league debut shirt, and then I've got my Wembley shirt, and my medal is in my medal and my player of the month and stuff like that is in my mum and dad's house in a cabinet.
Nice.
So it's up in house, to be fair. Yeah, it's up in there.
That's, and I mean, I suppose it's a really nice journey then for you, isn't it? Just to finish off with having that whole Chesterfield link, kind of growing up, and then making 90 odd appearances for something like that over those seasons. It must be quite nice looking back to have had that chance to play there as a player.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I think I said to you earlier, when that call came and they said they were interested, it obviously it not being far away from home as well. Everything was just fit into place so well, and just nice. I went on to have some good times there, and I've always said I'd love to play for the club again. Whether it'll happen or not, we don't know. But I've got fond memories, and I always look at the results.
Put out by Ryan. Jimmy Ryan receives the ball again now. Again, there's only non-delay up front at the moment. Eastham's header. Only into the path of Roberts. Roberts now, it's a good ball for Banks. Ollie Banks makes it 3-0 to the Spireites.